Have you ever looked at someone else's triumph and felt not just admiration, but a sharp, cold sting of pain? As if their dazzling light doesn't warm you, but only plunges deeper into your own shadow. Are you tired of this quiet poison, poisoning you from within? But Carl Jung left us a map of this agonizing territory. He taught that envy is not a sign of your insignificance. It is a distorted, desperate whisper from your soul, pointing to your own, still unclaimed gift. And to decipher this message, over the next hour we will take 3 steps. You will understand why the brilliance of another's talent blinds you and paralyzes your will. You will learn what great task this feeling sets before you. It is not a call to copy, but a demand to find your own. And you will see the path to turn this poison into medicine, into fuel for your unique path, the path of individuation. If you are ready to stop looking around and start looking within, our journey begins right now. And then comes the silence. The day is over. All the external voices have faded, and you are left alone with a small, glowing screen. It becomes a portal into other people's lives, where the gardens always seem to bloom more lushly and the fruits are sweeter. You scroll through your feed. You see another victory, another masterpiece, another recognition, and each of their success stories lays on your soul like a cold, heavy stone that you can't tell anyone about. This is the bitter taste of someone else's triumph, which feels like your personal defeat. You might even press like, but your finger grows cold and everything inside you tightens. And in that moment, your inner critic, that merciless judge who always finds only reproaches for you, suddenly becomes their most devoted fan. He applauds their courage. He admires their talent. And then he turns to you, and in the deafening silence of your room, quietly asks, "And what have you done?" It's that agonizing feeling that your train has already left, that the celebration of life is roaring somewhere over there, behind thick, soundproof glass, and you are just a silent observer, a ghost at the feast of someone else's existence. Your own story hasn't even begun, while others, it seems, have already written a triumphant epilogue. And in that moment, in the moment of comparison, shame arrives. It comes like a cold fog, making you believe that this feeling is your personal, shameful vice. Let me tell you something you should have heard a long, long time ago. You should not be ashamed of this feeling. It doesn't make you an envious or bad person. It doesn't prove your weakness or insignificance. On the contrary, it proves that something great lives inside you, something authentic that desperately wants to manifest. What you are feeling is not the petty envy of the ego. It is the sacred pain of your soul. Carl Jung would say that envy is the pain of an unrealized deity within you. It is your deep self, your true self, looking at another person and seeing in them its own, yet unborn reflection. And this pain of recognition is almost unbearable. Therefore, your suffering is not a sign of your insignificance. It is a sign of your depth. Only someone who has a treasure within can suffer so agonizingly from the fact that it is still buried underground. And now that we have removed the stigma of shame from this feeling, I want to offer you an idea, a radical one, perhaps even a frightening one. What if I told you that envy is not your enemy, that it is the most honest, most accurate, albeit the most brutal diagnostic tool at your disposal? Unlike general anxiety or vague dissatisfaction, envy is always specific. It points a finger at a specific person, at a specific talent, at a specific way of life. It is not a sugar pill, but a bitter medicine, and its bitterness is directly proportional to its healing power. It unerringly points to the exact location of your inner wound, to that aspect of your soul that you are ignoring, that you have betrayed. What if your soul, tired of the polite whispers you don't hear, is using this agonizing feeling to finally scream at you? To scream, "Look, this is what you have betrayed in yourself. This is the energy you are wasting looking at others, instead of investing it in yourself." But this scream is a message encrypted in a code that is distorted by the noise of our own false beliefs, collective ideas about talent, success, and the right path. Before we can use this powerful tool, we must clean it of this long-standing rust. And to learn to read these fiery signs, to turn a cry of pain into a clear instruction, We must first become surgeons of our own beliefs. We must methodically dissect the very myths that build the walls of this invisible, yet so strong prison. The prison of comparison, in which we are doomed to look at others instead of looking into ourselves. Therefore, our first step to freedom is not an action in the external world, but a ruthlessly honest analysis of the internal world. We must understand on what false map we are trying to find our way, and we will begin this deconstruction right now. Let's call these voices by their names. The voices that your mind helpfully offers you in moments of pain to somehow explain what is happening. These are its emergency protocols, its attempts to bring order to chaos. They all offer you simple answers, and that is their temptation, but they all lie because they point to the symptom, not the source. The first voice says, it's just low self-esteem. It sounds so logical. Of course, if you believed in yourself more, you wouldn't be envious. But let me ask, is it really low self-esteem? Or is it a lack of esteem for your true self because it is not manifested? Self-esteem is not the cause, it is the effect. It drops when you live in discord with yourself. The second voice, the most brutal one, whispers, you just lack talent. This is the final verdict that allows you to do nothing. Why try if nature has deprived you? But this is a myth, a dangerous and paralyzing one. It presents talent as some magical object that you either have or you don't. It ignores the fact that any gift is just a potential, which without effort, without dedication, without courage, remains just a sleeping seed. The third voice, the simplest one, you're just lazy. This label is convenient in its directness. But is it really laziness? Or is it a form of deep, unconscious resistance? It is your soul refusing to spend its precious energy moving in the wrong direction. It is not a lack of strength, but a sabotage of a false goal. And finally, the fourth voice, the most comforting one, they just got lucky. This label removes all responsibility from you. It's not that you didn't do something, it's that fate favored them. But this is an intellectual surrender. It devalues their invisible work, their risks, their sleepless nights, and turns you into a passive victim of circumstances. All these explanations are an attempt to cover a deep crack in the foundation with beautiful wallpaper. They are bandages that hide the wound, but do not heal it. They do not give you strength. They only give you permission to stay put. But we are not here for that. We are here to find the true cause. If all these are just symptoms, then what is the real disease? To understand this, let's use a metaphor. Imagine that your soul is a living, whole organism with its own unique immune system. Its main task is to remain faithful to its own predestined path of development. When a foreign pathogen enters this organism, the virus of self-denial, the virus of following another's path, the virus of ignoring your inner voice, the organism reacts. It does what a healthy organism should do. It raises its temperature. This fever of the soul is envy. It is agonizing. It drains your strength. It makes you toss and turn in a delirium of comparison and devaluation. But this fever is not the disease itself. It is a sign that your internal immune system is still working. It is a sign of health, not a vice. It is proof that your soul is desperately fighting an infection that is trying to make it be something it is not. This fever is agonizing. It drains your strength. It makes you toss and turn in a delirium of comparison. But its purpose is not to kill you, but to save you by signaling a deadly invasion. And here we come to the main mistake that most people make. Society tells us, don't be envious, be above it, be happy for others. This is like telling a person with severe pneumonia, just stop coughing and bring your fever down. Trying to stop being envious by force of will is like taking a spiritual fever reducer. You can temporarily suppress the symptom. You can force yourself to smile while looking at someone else's success. But the infection of self-betrayal will not go away. It will just go deeper, become chronic, and one day manifest as total apathy, depression, and complete burnout. You will silence the alarm while your house continues to burn. This theory will remain just a beautiful metaphor if we don't apply it as a diagnostic tool. Right now. And now I want to ask you to do something important. not just to listen, but to work. I want to ask you to take a pause. Remember the last time you experienced that sharp, cold envy. You don't need to dig deep. Take the most recent, most vivid case. Who was its object? Whose success? Whose talent? Whose life made you feel that sting? See that person in your imagination. And now for the main question, the question that changes everything. Look through this person as if through glass, and ask yourself what exactly in them or their path made your soul raise its temperature. Was it their courage, their discipline, their freedom to be themselves, their ability to create beauty, their recognition? What of your own unrealized desire? What of your own sleeping ability was highlighted by their light? Don't rush the answer. Let it rise from the depths, even if it scares you with its honesty. I'm serious. Pause this video and write down the answer. One word or one sentence. By writing it down, you turn vague suffering into concrete knowledge. You give a name to your treasure. Do it now. If you are honest with yourself, then what you just wrote down is not just the name of a person or their achievement. It is the name of your own unclaimed potential. It is the name of that part of your soul that desperately wants to be lived. This is the exact location of the infection that the fever of your envy is pointing to. This is your compass, and now you know where it points. What you just felt, that sting of recognition, that moment of painful clarity, it's not just an insight, it's an event. It is the beginning of the path, and you are not the first to step onto this trail. Long before us, there was an explorer, a cartographer of the soul, a fearless navigator who dedicated his entire life to studying these inner continents. His name was Carl Gustav Jung. He wasn't just a philosopher who sat in his office and reflected. He was an empiricist who descended into the deepest and darkest minds of the human psyche, his own and his patients, to map its hidden territories. He didn't invent this path, he discovered it, just as Columbus didn't invent America, but merely put it on the maps of the known world. And he gave this path a name. He called it individuation. This is not just self-development or finding yourself. It is something much deeper. Individuation is the sacred process of becoming who you were truly born to be. It is the realization of the unique, unrepeatable potential embedded in you from birth. Jung believed that every soul has its own unique root, its own true north, which is unlike any other. And he showed, with tragic clarity, exactly what happens when we stray from this path. Envy is nothing other than the existential pain of a soul that has strayed from this one intended route. It is the suffering of a plant that tries to grow in the shadow of another, taller tree, instead of finding its own patch of sun. It is the longing for one's true path, which becomes unbearable when we see someone else confidently walking their own. It is this map, the map of the path to oneself, that we will begin to study in the next part. So what is individuation really? Forget everything you've read in popular articles about finding yourself. Individuation is not a passive search for something lost. It is an active, often heroic process of creating yourself through a conscious dialogue with the deepest, unconscious parts of your nature. To understand this, let's use a metaphor. Imagine that your life is a ship on a boundless ocean. Your conscious I, your ego, is the captain at the helm. He is rational, he makes decisions, he looks through a spyglass at other ships and at the horizon. His task is to guide the ship safely and efficiently. But every ship, without exception, has a unique, almost magical compass. Jung would call it the self. This compass does not point to the commonly accepted ports marked on all maps: harbor of wealth, port of fame, bay of universal recognition. No, it points to your personal, one-of-a-kind treasure island, whose existence no one knows about but you. This is your unique potential, your destiny, and this is where the drama begins. The captain ego looks through his spyglass and sees a whole flotilla of other shiny and fast ships, confidently heading for a brightly lit, popular harbor. Everyone is applauding them from the shore. It seems that real success is right there. But his own quiet compass stubbornly points in another direction, into foggy, uncharted waters, where there are no guarantees and no landmarks. And what does the captain do? He begins to doubt his compass. He tries to ignore its quiet but persistent call. He turns the helm and tries to sail like the others. He tries to develop the same speed, raise the same sails, keep the same course. Envy within this metaphor is the creaking of the ship's rigging, groaning under unnatural tension. It is the stress of metal being bent against its nature. It is the despair of the captain who sees that his ship, built for exploring the depths, is clumsy and slow in this foreign regatta. Individuation is the courage of the captain to trust this quiet inner compass, even when the roar of the storm and the sirens of other successes call him to the rocks. It is an act of faith that your unique, lonely path into the fog will ultimately lead you to a treasure incomparably greater than all that glitters in the common harbor. To prevent this idea from being an abstraction, let me tell you a story. The story of Sarah. Sarah was an artist, but she didn't just paint. She was a translator of silence. Her gift was the ability to see the soul of a landscape, the fog over a sleeping lake, a lone tree against a sunset sky, the quiet light in the window of an abandoned house. She painted not what she saw, but what she felt, and each of her canvases was a page from the secret diary of her soul. Her works were deep, melancholic, full of unspoken wisdom. This was her compass, her true north. And Sarah also had a friend, Emily. Emily was also an artist, but her world was different. It exploded with bright neon colors, bold lines, ironic pop art portraits. Her art was loud, understandable. It was made for applause, and the applause was not long in coming. Emily's paintings flew off the gallery walls. Her name appeared in articles. Her Instagram was full of enthusiastic comments. She was riding the crest of a wave, and her ship was visible to all. Sarah was happy for her friend. But when she was alone in her quiet studio, the joy was replaced by a cold, viscous feeling. Looking at her somber landscapes, she heard a whisper. "This is too quiet, too complicated. Nobody needs this." Emily's success became not an inspiration for her, but a sentence. And one day, the captain of her soul made a fateful decision. He decided his compass was broken. She put away her dark, earthy paints and bought fluorescent acrylics. She tried to imitate Emily's bold strokes, her ironic view of the world. She forced herself to be bright, loud, fashionable. But the brush in her hand became alien. The process that used to be a meditation turned into torture. Her new works were technically flawless, but dead. They were loud but empty echoes of someone else's song. The inspiration was gone. The joy dried up. That fever of the soul began. The studio was covered in dust. Sarah fell into a deep, silent depression, hating both herself and art. Several months passed. One day, while sorting through old things, she came across a folder with her first student sketches. With trembling hands, she opened it. And from there, from the yellowed sheets, they looked back at her quiet, melancholic landscapes, her trees, her fogs, her lonely light in the window. And in that moment, Sarah burst into tears. But these were not tears of despair. They were tears of recognition, as if she had met a lost part of herself. She realized that her mistake was not that she had chosen the wrong style. Her sin was deeper. She had not betrayed her technique. She had betrayed her soul. She was trying to sail by someone else's map to someone else's island, while her own unique world was waiting for her, gathering dust and being forgotten. And the moment Sarah understood this, her story ceased to be her personal drama and became a universal myth, a myth about each of us. This story is not about Sarah. This story is about you. Each of us is Sarah in the moment she looks at Emily's success. Let's be brutally honest. Your Emily is not just a specific person. Emily is a symbol. It is that standard of external, generally accepted success that hypnotizes you. It could be a successful entrepreneur whose numbers make you dizzy. It could be a recognized artist whose freedom seems unattainable to you. It could be a spiritual guru whose calmness you consider holiness. It could even be the perfect mother from Instagram whose life seems flawless. Emily is any external form that your ego has deemed ideal. And your melancholic landscapes? This is not necessarily art. It is that very unique, perhaps quiet and non-commercial part of your soul that you have begun to devalue. It is your ability for deep analysis in a world that values quick answers. It is your strange sense of humor that you hide to seem normal. It is your love for systematizing chaos, for gardening, for writing poems you never show anyone, for long, attentive listening to other people. It is what you do not for the result, but because you cannot not do it. This is your compass. So I ask you, and I ask that you answer honestly, at least to yourself. Who is your Emily? Whose bright, universally acclaimed style are you trying to imitate? Whose ship do you see in your spyglass and desperately try to catch up with? And the most important question, what of your own, quiet but authentic landscapes are now gathering dust in the closet of your soul while you chase after someone else's success? Because here is the real tragedy. In trying to become Emily, you not only doom yourself to frustration, you do something worse. You betray yourself. You take the precious, unique energy of your soul and waste it in an attempt to become a second-rate copy of someone else. You become a ghost in your own life, an empty echo of someone else's song. Your tragedy is not that you cannot become like Emily. Your true tragedy is that in a desperate attempt to become her, you cease to be yourself. These questions are not easy, I know. They strike at the very heart because they force us to look at what we have been turning away from for so long. And perhaps now your mind is trying to find a logical answer, going through your hobbies and talents. But I want to offer you another way, not through the mind, but through feeling. So I want to ask you again to take a pause, but this time for something different. I invite you to a short 1-minute meditation. Right now, if you can, close your eyes. If not, just unfocus your gaze. Take one deep breath and exhale, and now let go of everything. Let go of the image of Emily. Let go of the noise of others' success. Let go of thoughts about recognition, about money, about what is right and what is prestigious. Let go of even my words. Allow all of it to dissolve like smoke. Remain in this silence, and from this silence, ask yourself one single question. What activity, what occupation, what state makes me feel most alive, most real, even if no one ever sees or approves of it? What is this process in which you lose track of time, in which your inner critic falls silent because he is too engrossed? What is this activity after which you feel not emptiness, but fullness? Don't look for a word, look for a feeling. This feeling, which precedes any thought of a result, this is the voice of your true north. This is the sensation of your melancholic landscapes. This is the vibration of your unique compass. Catch this feeling, stay with it, and now, open your eyes. I want to ask you to do something very important. Take this feeling that you have just discovered and give it a name. One word. Go down to the comments section under this video and share not what the activity is, but how you feel while doing it. Just one word. Maybe it's flow, maybe silence, maybe creation, order, play, help, depth, connection. Don't explain. Don't elaborate. Just leave this word like a beacon. By doing this, you will perform a powerful act. You will bring your most intimate feeling from the inner world to the outer, acknowledging its reality. And more importantly, by scrolling through the comments, you will see hundreds, maybe thousands of other beacons. You will see that you are not alone on your unique path. You will see that you are part of a huge, invisible community of souls, each searching for its own unique light. Let's create a map of our unique paths, right here, right now. What you are doing now, leaving these word beacons, is the beginning of real alchemical work. You are learning to see value in what you previously considered poison. You are beginning to extract light from your own darkness. And this brings us to the most important shift in perception, to what will change everything. Stop fighting envy. Start listening to it. Imagine that envy is not your enemy or your vice. Imagine that it is the most devoted, albeit the most brutal teacher you have ever known. A teacher who does not tolerate lies. He will not comfort you when you have lost your way. He will not praise you for trying to be someone else. Instead, he will mercilessly again and again point out your every betrayal of yourself. Every time you betray your gift, he comes with pain. Every time you ignore your compass, he comes with bitterness. He is your most faithful guardian, and his job is to cause you pain until you return home. The ancient alchemists knew this principle. They spoke of the prima materia, the first matter. It was the most despised, chaotic, dark, and unformed substance, something one wanted to get rid of. But they knew that without this black, poisonous sludge, it was impossible to perform the great work, impossible to turn lead into gold. In the laboratory of the soul, envy is your prima materia. It is not waste. It is that very black, heavy lead without which it is impossible to obtain the gold of individuation. You have been trying to throw away the most valuable ingredient of your transformation. So what should you do when this teacher comes again? When you feel his cold touch again, don't run, don't hide, don't be ashamed, stop, take a breath, and say to him mentally, I hear you, thank you for reminding me where my path is. In that very moment, you cease to be a victim and become an alchemist. You take the poison and begin to turn it into medicine. You turn your tormentor into your wisest guide. But what does it mean to listen to envy and practice? It means making a fundamental shift in focus, to stop looking at the object of envy and start looking at what it highlights in you. It means moving from external struggle to internal work. When we experience envy, our first instinctive reaction is to enter the external game. We start to compete. We try to defeat the competitor, to surpass him, to prove that we are better. We spend all our energy on this external struggle, which ultimately only exhausts us and leads us further away from our path. But the Jungian approach offers a completely different strategy, not struggle, but integration. Jung spoke of the shadow, that part of us that we do not acknowledge. We usually think of it as something dark and negative, but there is also the so-called golden shadow. This is the sum of our best, brightest, strongest qualities that we, for one reason or another, do not dare to recognize as our own. Our courage, our talent, our discipline, our inner freedom. And what do we do with this gold that we are afraid to consider our own? We project it onto others. The person you envy is just a screen. Your soul is the projector that shows a film on this screen about your own undiscovered potential. You look at his courage and do not realize that it is your own courage waiting for you to give it a voice. You admire his discipline because your own discipline has not yet found a worthy goal. You envy his freedom because you keep yourself in a cage. Your task is not to tear the screen or compete with the actor on it. Your task is to turn off the projector, to withdraw the projection, to turn to the source of light within yourself and say, what I admire in you is also in me, and I am ready to start developing it. Your task is not to compete with the carrier of the projection, but to mentally thank him for showing you your own treasure, which you were hiding even from yourself, and then to start digging up this treasure, not by copying his methods, but by finding your own unique way to manifest this courage, this discipline, this freedom. This is a beautiful theory, but how do you withdraw a projection in practice? How do you turn this insight into a daily habit? For this, we will need a tool, a simple but incredibly powerful one. I call it the Alchemist's Journal or the Individuation Journal. This is not an ordinary diary where you write down the events of the day. This is your personal alchemical laboratory where day after day you will turn the lead of suffering into the gold of your unique path. It works very simply. Get a separate notebook or a file on your computer, and every time you feel a sting of envy, no matter how strong or weak, open it and answer 3 questions in writing. Question 1. Who and what exactly am I envious of right now? Be as specific as possible. Not just a successful businessman, but his ability to take risks and start from scratch. Not just a famous artist, but her courage to show the world her imperfect works. This step helps you to fix the projection. You are defining exactly which screen you are looking at. Question 2. What of my own unrealized desire or quality does this feeling highlight? This is the step of identifying your golden shadow. Shift the focus from the other person to yourself. If you are envious of his ability to take risks, It means your own courage is asking for a voice. If you are envious of her courage to be imperfect, it means your inner perfectionist is holding your creativity hostage. Name this quality. Acknowledge it as your own. And question 3, the most important one. What one small, tiny step can I take today to manifest this quality in my own unique form? This is the step of practical action. And here the key word is small. You don't need to change your whole life. If you are envious of a writer's discipline, your step is not to write a novel, but to write one paragraph today. If you are envious of an entrepreneur's courage, your step is not to start a business, but to make one call that you've been putting off. This third step is an act of magic. It takes the colossal, destructive energy of envy, which used to be directed outward at self-flagellation and comparison, and redirects it inward into a small, creative action. You stop wasting energy on observing someone else's garden and start watering your own, albeit still tiny, sprout. And when you start taking these small steps, day after day, something amazing will happen. The noise of others' successes will begin to fade. Not because they will become less successful, but because you will be too engrossed in the music of your own soul. And I want you to hear and remember one thing. The world does not need another copy of someone. It does not need a second Emily, a second Steve Jobs, or a second Elon Musk. The universe has done a colossal job creating you as unique, with your unrepeatable set of gifts, quirks, and contradictions. Trying to be someone else is the greatest insult you can offer to this creation. The world is desperately waiting for you, in your authentic, imperfect, but absolutely genuine manifestation. We are used to thinking of success as a competition, as a race where there are winners and losers. But this is a lie. This is the ego's game. The true success of the soul is not winning someone else's game. It is the courage to create your own. And in this game, in the game of becoming yourself, you are the only participant. You cannot lose. You cannot come in second. Your task is not to be better than them. Your task is to be yourself so totally, so deeply, so uncompromisingly, as no one else in the entire universe except you can be. Therefore, I bless your unique path. I bless your melancholic landscapes, your strange hobbies, your quiet voice that you have been afraid to hear for so long. They contain more power and more value for the world than all the most brilliant copies of someone else's success. Your gift is needed. Your song must be sung, and the time to start is now. We have come a long way in this hour, from the icy sting of pain to the promise of transformation, from the deconstruction of false myths to the encounter with our own golden shadow, from the paralysis of comparison to the power of uniqueness. And if we were to reduce this whole journey to a single, most important truth, it would sound like this. The envy that you have long considered your enemy, your poison, your shame, is actually homesickness. It is the soul's nostalgia for your true home, for yourself, for who you were meant to become. It is the pain of exile that you feel while wandering through foreign lands and looking at others' brightly lit castles. And every time you feel that sting, know it is not your insignificance speaking to you. It is not your inner critic passing judgment on you. It is yourself, your true I, quietly knocking on the door of your consciousness and whispering, "It's time to come home. You've been a guest in other people's lives for too long. It's time to return to yourself." This is not a reproach. It is an invitation. It is the most faithful compass that will always, always point you the way back. So stop standing in the cold, peering into others' warm and bright windows. You have your own home. Perhaps it is dark and uncomfortable for now, because no one has lived in it for a long time. But it is yours. Turn on the light in your own home. And when you begin to turn on this light, gradually, day by day, not only your inner world will change, but also the way you look at the outer world. Imagine a day in the not-so-distant future. You open the internet and see news of another triumph of a person you once painfully envied. You look at his success and you feel a sting, but not of pain, but of pure, sincere, bright joy. Not because you have become better than him, not because you have defeated him, but because you are so engrossed in cultivating your own unique garden that you simply have neither the time nor the desire to look over someone else's fence. You are genuinely happy for his flowers because you know how much work and love every, even the smallest, sprout requires. The noise of the market of others' achievements will quiet down. The deafening fare of vanity, where everyone compares the size of their fruits, will simply cease to interest you. And in this blessed silence, you will finally hear the music. The quiet, confident, deep music of your own being. It will not be a life without difficulties, but it will be your life, filled not with the anxiety of comparison, but with the meaning of following your path. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Thank you for your trust and for your courage. It takes immense courage to turn away from the bright lights of the external world and look into your own shadow. The inner work you have done in this hour is a gift not only for you. Every time one person chooses their authentic path, they make this world a little more conscious, a little more whole, a little more real. Your courage inspires in an invisible way those who are near you. And know this, you are not alone in this search. Right now, along with you, thousands of other seekers are making the same choice. The choice in favor of themselves, the choice in favor of their unique path. You are part of a huge invisible brotherhood of souls who are tired of the noise and have decided to listen to the inner silence. And it is an honor for me to be a part of this journey with you. If this journey into yourself has meaning for you, if you feel that this work should be continued, then I invite you to stay. Subscribing to this channel is not just a click, it is your statement of intent. The intent to continue this deep, sometimes difficult, but always healing journey to the center of your soul. It is your commitment not to abandon what you have started and to continue studying the map that we are deciphering here together. Your like is not just an evaluation, it is a signal. It is a beacon that you light for another ship wandering in the fog of comparison. With your simple action, you can help this light find someone who is sitting in the dark right now and desperately needs a reminder of their own unique path. And in conclusion, I want to leave you with one thought, a thought that is the foundation of all this work. The world is full of successful people. It is overflowing with big names and brilliant achievements. But it is in desperate need of whole people. People who have found the courage to refuse the chase for others' success in order to find their own authentic being. And remember, the greatest work, the holiest war, and the most beautiful love in your life is the path to yourself.